This is Media Philosophy, exploring the deeper side of King of the Hill with Peggy Hill, one of my favorite cartoon moms, and in general, cartoon moms play a special place in my heart. They're sort of the foundation of most cartoon families. A lot of the times, the dad in sitcoms is the more crazy one, and the housewife being the more stable compared to the two. What's interesting now that I kind of think about it is in cartoons, it's a little bit more 50-50 which character is the anchor and which character is the crazy one. And with Peggy Hill, it is a clear example of a spouse being the crazy one. I mean, it's so obvious. Hank Hill is one of the most upstanding guys in the whole cartoon universe. Honestly, I would say he's probably top animated dad, if maybe top 10. We'll give myself some wiggle room with top 10 animated dad. And he's so great because he's stable, he's knowledgeable, he cares about Bobby, he gets people out of trouble, he cares about other people. Hank Hill has a lot of qualities that just make him such a fantastic role model. But the thing is, being a good role model is rarely hilarious. Hank is rarely the one who is being purposely funny or even like being funny. I would say it's usually things happening to Hank that are funny. It's Hank reacting to the world around him. But anyways, this video is about Peggy Hill. So we're going to focus on her, but she's the exact opposite. Well, she's, like I said, the crazy one compared to the two. She's the one who's being loud at parties. She's the one who's being a little obnoxious. She's the one inserting herself into places that she doesn't belong, trying to speak Spanish, but having no clue what it means, to the point where it's just absurd. The whole gag where she cannot speak Spanish fluently enough that they can convict her that there was like malice behind her kidnapping that little Lupe, that little Mexican child. And a lot of people on the internet seem to dislike Peggy, that they think she's loud, she's obnoxious. I don't understand how you can dislike her when this is a comedy and they're just trying to make her seem funny. You can't have a stable wife with Hank, or else the show would just be boring. Because Hank is so solid, you almost need someone so unhinged, and Peggy plays the perfect opposite to Hank Hill. Just how amazing that she thinks that she is can sometimes be a little cringe, I guess. I can see how some people might find it a little cringe. So many episodes, Peggy has incredible one-liners that play off her vanity, where she's the butt of the joke, even though that she thinks she is coming out on top. And I think that's one of the coolest things about Peggy Hill as a character, or that's one of my favorite things about Peggy Hill, yeah, just as like a device, whatever, is even when everyone around her like sniffs the butt, like the dog crap on her shoe, she thinks she smells like roses. It's hard to write those kind of situations, or she just lacks that situational awareness, the social cues of everyone around her. I can identify with Peggy a little bit. It's important, I would say, to think highly of yourself. Otherwise, you're gonna suffer from low self-esteem. I would just say I would rather be a Peggy Hill than a Bill Dauterive. Okay, it's already been shown that Bill's a prisoner of his own design, basically. The way that he was able to react when he thought that everything was in his life was the army's fault for experimenting on him. So, you know, while Peggy does sometimes make a few faux pas here and there, she still does care about Bobby, you know, here and there. Well, actually, I take that back. I don't know if Peggy's a good person, now that I really think about it. She's funny, she's a funny character, but she might not be a good mom when I think about it. Because there's a lot of examples of her just going off the rails on Bobby, on Hank, using Bill. The time she used Bill to sell all those bars or whatever, all those multi-level marketing bars or whatever. Oh, there's so many times that Peggy has just not been a good person. I would say one of the biggest cringe episodes is the episode where Peggy gets really insecure that Bobby is just a much better homemaker than she is. And then she goes off the rails. Like, she steals the turkey, goes to her hairdresser's place, who she assumes is gay, but actually has a loving family. Oh my god, it's terrible. It's sad, though, because... well, I mean, Hank doesn't have the best upbringing either. But yeah, Peggy does not have the best relationship with her parents. I think a more common trait with people from, like, maybe Hank and Peggy's generation. Well, I guess it just varies. It's a common trait all the time. It varies person from person. But it does suck that Peggy probably is carrying around some traumas because of her relationship with her mom. She's just not probably a good person. I mean, I don't even know if her heart's in the right place a lot of the time, honestly. I don't think it is. There's a lot of times that she is the reason something goes bad. But again, I just can't get over how funny she is in the show. And there's so many different ways that they can use her for gags. I guess her main gags would be her inability to speak Spanish. And then how she just views herself above everybody else when she is a substitute teacher, creating her own awards, like the Substitute Teacher of the Year awards, just to validate her own existence. It's just funny. And it's just an example of also how King of the Hill is really good about creating these characters so they can go out and interact with each other and make these stories. She's like one of the perfect catalysts. You get her with the right combination of characters and she's going to ignite something because she's just so full of herself. Like when she gave all that money to that person because she thought she was super smart and ended up getting scammed like time and time and time again. When her ego got shot by Hank being a substitute teacher to the point that she like almost tried to get him kicked out and whatnot and did not help him get back. Oh, so many examples of her just being so self-serving. But again, if you watch an episode with Peggy Hill in it, beyond the cringe, there are just so many funny moments. And that's what shows need, is for the humor to fall back onto someone. You know, someone has to get the pie in the face. But it's even better when someone gets that pie in the face and doesn't even realize that, you know, they're walking around looking like a fool. It just allows them to keep making a fool of themselves and still kind of like being, you know, more positive too. And she's just more level than someone like Francine Smith from American Dad, who just goes a little bit too crazy. I would say there's a few like network golden American moms out there and a few other ones, mostly just because I haven't watched a lot of the contemporary stuff that's on streaming because there's just too many now. But anyways, when at least comes to like the classic network television moms, Francine Smith from American Dad is just too crazy, which is again just a Seth MacFarlane TV show. They're gonna amplify the craziness. She's probably honestly my favorite character. There's gonna be a whole other video on her. But there's just like another level of craziness when it comes to Francine. Peggy Hill's not gonna do half of the wild shenanigans that you can get away with in American Dad because they're just two different shows. And then you got Bob's Burgers. And, you know, Linda and Peggy do have some parallels. A lot of the, you know, they're both longing. They both have, like, an artistic longing, with Peggy with, like, you know, writing for her muses and other endeavors. Linda with her singing, her musicals. And that is another thing, at least personally, I can identify with Peggy, with Linda, is this want to be creative. And it's kind of sad how a lot of times they do get shut down, but it's inspiring how they don't give up. They keep trying to go out and make a name for themselves despite falling on their face so many times. It's actually kind of inspiring. But where Peggy Hill has like really funny lines and funny situations, Linda, I would say, can just be still have those funny lines, those funny, like, the innocenceness of when it comes to her kids. And she still kind of thinks a lot of herself. If I had to say one character was more obnoxious over than the other, I would definitely say Linda Belcher is the more obnoxious of the two cartoon moms. And I think it just comes down to Peggy being more purposeful with her obnoxiousness, where I don't think Linda embraces it as much, or at least the show does. And then Marge Simpson is just a doormat. You know, I sometimes find Marge to be more of a prop than anything else. So it's really hard to think too much outside of that. I mean, there's a lot of gags of Marge just being like excited to clean up. So I don't know. She's the most milquetoast bland cartoon mom of them all. And then you have like Beth from Rick and Morty. Beth from Rick and Morty is unlike at least any of the other cartoon moms in the sense that she is a professional woman. Peggy Hill wants to be that professional woman, but Beth actually makes it happen, where she's supporting, you know, someone like Jerry and her family as well. So she is in a bit a position of more power, but she could be poke fun out a lot, you know, because she is pathetic in her own ways. But anyways, out of all those moms, I just think Peggy is goated because you can see more of your own mom in Peggy. I think more moms can see themselves as Peggy just because of how relatable King of the Hill is in general. And again, I just think that she is just so funny, and her confidence. Again, it comes back to I would want to have that kind of confidence. It's that kind of confidence that's going to get you somewhere like the White House. If Peggy Hill was a man with oranger skin, there's a good chance that she could have been the next Donald Trump. She has that same kind of energy because she doesn't let anything get in her way, and neither should you. It doesn't matter if you're not qualified, if you make a fool of yourself, go get what is rightfully yours. The Peggy Hill method. Don't wait in line. Well, I don't know if you should actually be the Peggy Hill method now that I think about it, because she is pretty universally disliked, I would say, even amongst her neighbors and whatnot. But she'll never know it. She's just as unaware as Bill, which is kind of funny. They kind of are perfect for each other. I would say Hank definitely could do a lot better than Peggy, but of course he would never leave her. I wonder what Hank really does see in Peggy. I know that they like met in high school and the whole high school sweetheart sort of thing. I wonder if it was just that they just stayed together, because there's never really been an episode where I feel like you really see like a big love between Hank and Peggy. And I guess that's mostly because Hank is just the way he is, you know, very emotionally distant due to his upbringing. And there's definitely been episodes where Peggy has expressed like a longing to be shown that he cares. There's like the episode where he'll put the his and her sink after Peggy goes to teach that one Spanish priest kids in Mexico for like the weekend or the week or whatever, a couple weeks. That was Hank's big romantic gesture. But in a lot of the other cartoons, even like Rick and Morty with Jerry being so pathetic, I feel like there's times where, you know, you can see why with Jerry, he got Beth pregnant, but I can just see like, you know, there's attraction there. With American Dad, you know, you can definitely see those moments of like, you know, why Francine is with Stan and why Stan's with Francine, and all the other cartoons and whatnot. But I just really never got that whole thing with Hank, other than it's just who he dated, you know. I mean, Hank always had his own individual guys for everything, so, you know, once you're set up with Hank, you're not going anywhere. So yeah, Peggy was very lucky to hitch her wagon on that. There's got to be some crazy fan fiction out there. Oh god, I gotta check this out. There's got to be, I want to read some fan fiction of Peggy in an alternate reality where Peggy doesn't meet Hank and she's dating, I don't know, like Boomhauer. Obviously not Boomhauer. Why would he settle down? But Nancy, Bill. I mean, there's got to be a universe. There's got to be some fan fiction out there where Peggy is dating Bill, and maybe Hank is the pathetic one. Maybe Hank just needs, you know, someone to stand next to and give him orders, otherwise he'll fall apart. You know, you can't judge other people's relationship, is I guess what it comes down to. You know, so who am I to sit here and say Hank and Peggy don't know how to share their love with one another? Shame on me. Shame on me, truly. I'm just really thankful that Mike Judge was able to work to create a character like Peggy Hill into the whole show, like King of the Hill, because it is one of my favorite shows growing up, still is one of my favorite shows, still funny to this day, and this is Media Philosophy, exploring the deeper side of entertainment.